Hello everyone, Wendigo here. I know this is a bit of a different video, and I know it's been a long time since I last uploaded, but I've been getting into the Pokemon card game really hard recently. Or not really hard recently, but about a year ago I got into the Pokemon card game, and I've been playing it really hard since. And one of the new sets that come out has Mega Evolutions, which I am super hyped about. So much so I've already pre-built some of the decks with proxies. And I wanted to come on here and just give some of my opinions on the new Megas, as I feel like I disagree with a lot of other people's opinions online, or they'll get some things right in my opinion and then some things wrong, and I want to throw in my 2 cents on the table, since there's a lot of discussion to be had with these Megas. They are very interesting cards, and I think they're going to be a very good shakeup to the meta right now. Before we hop in though, I do want to say there's going to be about a list of criteria. The main thing is, how strong do I think that the card is on its own? Obviously, something like Mega Guardy is going to be amazing in Gardevoir, but on its own, it's a different story. And so that's my main criteria for all these. How good are all these cards on their own? Of course, that being said, pairing it up with others is part of the second criteria, is how good does it fit into other decks? Obviously, some cards are better into pre-existing decks than others. Mega Gengar is probably not going to be too great on its own, but Roaring Moon can be really good. Absol's not that great on its own, but into Grimmstyle, it can be pretty good. And so that's my second criteria. Third criteria is, I guess it's a mix of 3 and 4. 3 is, how good is it post-rotation? How good is it pre-rotation? Pre-rotation and post-rotation is going to change completely everything about the meta, with the big threats like Goldango and Guardy just being completely wiped off the planet, and cards like Raging Bolt being severely hindered without Sada's Vitality. And so, that is why I want to include that in the listing, is how good is this card before and after rotation. So with that out of the way, let's hop in. First off, we have Mega Venusaur. Mega Venusaur is a very interesting card. Oh my goodness, can I type? Jesus. Apparently not, oh my goodness. That's still not good enough. Whatever, you know what I'm trying to do. Mega Venusaur. So Mega Venusaur is a big old beefy 380 HP Pokemon with the ability to Solar Trans. As often as you like during your turn, you may move a basic grass energy from one of your Pokemon to another. Think of it like Shark Cadet, but it has to be basic grass energy. And then Jungle Dump does 240 damage and heals 30 damage, and also costs 4 energy. Now, normally a 4 energy cost would be unplayable. That is too much to ask for, too much. But the thing with Venusaur is, since it uses grass energy, you can pair it up with Teal Mask Ogerpon, which can let you Teal Dance a bunch of energy into play, Solar Transit all onto your Venusaur, and draw a bunch of cards at the same time. And so you can power up Jungle Dump pretty quickly. And so you can be dealing, admittedly it's not a lot of damage, but 240 is not bad. You're one-shotting most basic EX Pokemon, with a couple exceptions, but still. Most basic EX Pokemon are getting one-shot, which is pretty neat, and that little healing is not a bad side effect either. But the main draw with this card is Wally's Compassion. Wally's Compassion works amazing with this card, as it lets you heal all your damage from Mega Pokemon. And so, with Mega Venusaur's massive 380 HP, it's going to be kind of hard for some decks to one-shot it. And so that's the whole idea. You soak up damage, you heal it all away with Wally's Compassion, and then you could just rinse and repeat that. And one caveat, I say with air quotes, is that you have to put all energy attached to the Pokemon in your hand. Here's the neat part though. You can then just bring all the energy from your Venusaur into your hand and reattach them to the Ogerpons, so you can just Teal Dance and draw a bunch of cards again. Or, if you already use your Teal Dances for that turn, you can just move all your energy to an Ogerpon, heal, and then move them back. And so it just gives you this amazing flexibility and this amazing healing, as if you are not one-shot, you can just heal away all the damage. And since you are, like I said, 380 HP Pokemon, it's going to be kind of hard to one-shot you. And here's one other thing that is a big boost for the deck. Forest of Vitality. No, not Sada's Vitality. Get out of here. Forest of Vitality. Force of Vitality is kind of a nerfed Force of Giant Plants in that it lets you evolve your grass Pokemon as much as you want, even on the turn you put into play. Only caveat being, it can't be during your first turn, which, whatever, we are okay with that, we can ignore that. That's not that bad. But what this means is, you can pretty much insta-play a Venusaur EX from your hand, if you have all the cards, of course, but with TMS Ogerpon, you can have Amazing Draw, that's not going to be that hard. And so, you can easily just load up your bench with TMS Ogerpons, draw a bunch of cards, get what you need, next turn, slam down Vitality Force, pop out a Mega Venusaur immediately and start swinging for 240, and then tanking a bunch of damage. The biggest issues I'm seeing with the deck are just the fact that 3 main decks in the format just kind of hard counter it. Ethan's Typhlosion due to weakness and how hard it hits, so it can just one-shot Venusaur anyway. Raging Bolt because it one-shots everything, and Goldango because it resists and one-shots everything. Those 3 decks, in my opinion, are kind of the biggest hampers, especially with how much they're played. Obviously, right now, as we can see, Raging Bolt is 2nd most played deck, Goldango 6th, which obviously might rise up fairly quickly once Worlds comes around and the new Genesect version of the deck pops up. And then obviously once that pops up, a bunch of Ethan's Typhlosion is going to crawl right back with, it's going to crawl right with it, leaving Mega Venusaur dead in the dust. So I think those 3 main decks are kind of the big reason it's going to be held back, is just because those decks are really, really good. But that's pre-rotation. Post-rotation, I think this deck is going to pop off hard, since though the main weaknesses in Goldango, gone. Goldango's just gone. It's erased from existence. Raging Bolt's going to be heavily nerfed without Sada's Vitality, possibly even becoming an off-meta deck. But obviously, there's a good chance it won't. It's Raging Bolt, it'll probably stick around, but it's going to be hugely hampered without Sada's Vitality. And so, those are your 2 biggest issues kind of gone. Your 2 main counter decks are gone. And so, I think pre-rotation, it's probably going to be in C tier. I think post-rotation, it's going to be a very high B tier, maybe low A tier. I think I'm going to put it at a prehensive high B tier, just because I see a lot of potential with the deck, but I also see some issues, as it is asking for a lot. You need a lot of energy in play, you need to get a lot of things into play. It's asking for a lot. It gives a lot in return, but it's asking for a lot. Next up is Mega Lucario. Mega Lucario, I'm kind of have a sweet spot for Mega Lucario. I actually built a proxy deck with Mega Lucario, and I actually just got back from playing Mega Lucario with a bunch of my friends. And it is strong. It is really strong. Being able to deal 130 damage on 1 energy as early as turn 2 is kind of ridiculous, especially with this big 340 HP wall. A lot of decks can't really handle that amount of pressure that early, and so a lot of decks just kind of fold under that pressure, because it's a lot. You're dealing a lot of damage with a big HP Pokemon, and the best thing is, you're setting up your other Pokemon with it. And so you can easily just set up the 1 Lucario, or a Jab, and set up the 2nd Lucario, so if they do take out the 1 Lucario, the 2nd one's already ready. It's already fully prepared to just start taking KOs on its own. And so, you have this amazing backup plan with Mega Lucario, since it can allow you to set up a bunch of other Pokemon while you're still doing really good damage. And obviously, this has some parallels to Burning Charge in Flareon EX for Eevee Box, as Flareon EX can also be played as early as turn 2, sometimes even turn 1 if you're going 2nd, which is kind of ridiculous, and does a very similar effect. And we've seen how good that effect can be, just being able to, not search, but just being able to attach a bunch of energy on an already really good attack can be humongous. I mean, we've already seen cards like Joltik, which have basically 0 health and deal no damage, already do really good just because it attaches a bunch of energy. And so, just for that fact alone, Lucario is already pretty good, since it allows you to set up your other bench Pokemon, so while dealing good damage. And then, there's Mega Brave for 270 damage, which during an X-Burn, this Pokemon can't use Mega Brave, which kinda sucks, but that's not that big of a deal. You can still deal a bunch of damage maybe switch it. Thing is, you can use Aura Jab, set up your other Lucario, and then you can Mega Brave, deal a bunch of damage, switch into your other Mega Lucario, and then use Mega Brave again. So you can just keep doing this little somersault, so you can keep using Mega Brave. So that alone makes it really good. But then there's the support in Premium Power Pro. This thing is such a good card. During this turn, your fighting Pokemon's attacks do 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. This can be insane, as you can play 1 to 2 of these to start hitting for, 190 damage? That's knocking out Mews and Fezzes and stuff like that. Well, actually, maybe not. No, you knock out Fez, yeah. You can knock out Fez, or you already I meant Squawk. You're already knocking out Fez without any of them. But yeah, you're knocking out Squawk and Mew with that. And so you can start taking really early 2-prize knockouts with that. Fuck was that? Whatever, I'm gonna ignore that, probably cut in ending. And that's not even the best part of it. You can then use it on things like Mega Brave to start hitting for 300 to 330 damage. Start knocking out the big Stage 2 EXs. And so you can just have this really flexible attacker that both sets up really well and attacks really hard and is really beefy. This is why in my deck I actually play with Turo and Scoop Up Cyclone, just so you can tank a bunch of damage, bring it right back into your hand, heal all that damage, and then play it back. This alone makes Lucario from a fun rogue deck to a genuinely competitive deck, in my opinion. But then we have its other suite of attackers in things like Hariyama, if I could spell, Hariyama, which works as a boss and deals an impressive 210 damage. And so you can use Lucario's, what's it called? I already forgot. Aura Jab. You can use Lucario's Aura Jab, set up Hariyama, or in this case, Makuhita. You can set up Makuhita, switch into Makuhita, evolve into Hariyama, bench up a weak support Pokemon, and then just immediately take it out. This alone also makes the deck so flexible, as you get even more boss's orders, pretty much. The deck has so much gusting at its potential, since you can Professors into Hariyama, you can Ultra Ball into Hariyama, so you can pretty much use a Professor's Research without having to use a supporter for turn. This card just, it's so good, I love it so much. And then, there's also the Lunatone, which is also kind of insane, as it lets you draw 3 cards while discarding a basic fighting energy. But obviously with Lucario's Aura Jab, you need fighting energy in the discard so you can attach it to your other Pokemon. And so you can very easily just start drawing a bunch of cards with this deck while also getting a bunch of energy in the discard, so you can then attach it back to your Pokemon. This card is kind of ridiculous, just a little bit ridiculous. So yeah, Lunatone alone makes the deck really good, as it's just one of the strongest draw engines in the game, in my opinion. But then there's also the Solrock, which at first glance is not that good. 70 damage is not that good. But we've seen with things like Fan Rotom and their, what's it called? I forget what it's called. But Fan Rotom's attack that does 70 damage for an energy, it can be really good early for just getting those early game knockouts. As sometimes you're just having a slower game. And so being able to just bring up that Fan Rotom, or in this case Solrock, and just being able to get a quick KO on a single price Pokemon is so good. It's so good. It's not used much, but it's still ridiculously good. We also can play things like Drillbur, which, let me try and find. No, why is it in Japanese? Why are you all in Japanese? English. Thank you. We have Dig 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 Drillbur, which, when played from your hand to your bench, you can search a deck for 3 fighting energy and discard them. Obviously, you can see why this is good. You discard a bunch of energy, you reattach it with Aura Jab. Really good. But then there's also Fighting Gong. Because the main caveat with Drillbur is you can't Nest Ball it out. You can't Buddy Buddy Pop it out. It has to be played from your hand to the bench, like Hawlucha. But Fighting Gong lets you search your deck for basic fighting Pokemon or energy and put it into your hand. And so you can easily just I need energy in the discard. let me Fighting Gong, bring out Drillbur, boom, 3 energy to discard, you're laughing. And so I think for those big reasons alone, makes the deck one of the strongest mega decks in my opinion. Thing is though, it gets hard countered by a lot of current meta decks. Goldango, or not Goldango, Gardevoir being one of them. Due to Mega Lucario's psychic weakness, Gardevoir can easily take it out. Same thing with any deck that runs Mew. Mew is such a annoying thing for the deck, since a lot of decks can easily power it up, and then they can just copy your Mega Brave and immediately KO you. Another big issue is, like I said with Mega Venusaur, is Goldango and Raging Bolt. All of those decks focus on one-shotting things, which obviously are really difficult. Some I think I should mention, all these decks are probably going to suck against Raging Bolt and Goldango. Just because of how they kind of rely on their beefiness to be good, and those decks nullify that. So I'm just going to quickly say that before I say for every single one and get annoying. That Goldango and Raging Bolt probably beat a lot of these cards. But that also is a big pro, is that's pre-rotation. Post-rotation, especially for Mega Lucario, most of their counters go away, especially with Lucario. In Lucario's case, Gardevoir, Mew, Goldango, all leave. They just leave. And so, those are all the main Psychic Pokemon in format gone. And then Raging Bolt, like I said before, is obviously heavily hindered. It can't really do much, in my opinion. It's going to be heavily hindered, probably not going to see as much meta play. And so, once those are gone, I genuinely think Mega Lucario can become a top tier meta deck, just because of how strong it is, how fast it can set up, and the support it has, and also the energy acceleration is insane. And so I think for now I'm gonna give a tentative A, just because I would give it an S, but because of how many meta counters there are, actually yeah, I'm gonna put in the highest B tier, just because of how many meta counters there are, which just really hurt it. But once those counters are gone, I generally think the deck is going to be a top tier deck. Next up is Mega Camerupt. Mega Camerupt is interesting. So 340 HP, just like Mega Lucario, also stage 1. Roasting Heat for 1 fire energy, 80 plus. If your opponent's active Pokemon is burned, this attack does 160 more damage. So we are hitting about, what is that, 240? Yeah, we're hitting about 240 damage for 1 energy, if your opponent is burned. And then Volcano Meteor, for 1 fire and 3 colorless, does 280 and discard 2 energy from this Pokemon. I don't like this attack, I'm going to be honest, I don't like it. I know other people that have talked about Mega Camerupt said that's not bad, I don't like it. I feel like the whole reason you're playing the deck is going to be on Roasting Heat, as, like I said, this is 240 damage. They were actually technically 260 damage, since the burn adds an extra 20. So reasonably, this is 260 damage for a single fire energy. This is kind of insane. This is kind of insane. At just base, that is insane. That is the highest damage to energy ratio we have seen in a long time. I think ever, maybe. Don't quote me on that, though. Thing is, though, the only caveat, you need to have your opponent be burned. Thing is, though, Volcarona. Volcarona from, what is it, Black Bolt? Yeah, Black Bolt lets you discard fire energy from your hand to burn your opponent's active Pokemon. This alone, in my opinion, makes the deck so good, as now you have an easy way of burning opponents, and you can also get energy in the discard, which immediately seems like a bad idea at first, but then you can always just Night Stretcher back out and attach to a Mega Camerupt or something. You can work with that, because let's say, yeah, your Mega Camerupt does go down, and you have an energy in hand. You could just Night Stretcher, bring it back, slam it down. You pretty much have your own little reservoir of fire energy in your discard at all times due to this card. So that alone isn't bad. This makes the deck work really well. But then, we got Magmortar. Where is it? Magmortar from Journey Together, which makes fire damage do more damage. This is kind of insane. It's a lot of stage 1s, which is interesting, But if you just have two of these in play, you can start hitting for, what is it, 320 damage? In one turn, off one energy. And then let's say they flip tails. They're going to get burned, they're going to take damage the next turn. And so you can easily start piling up damage from just one really strong attack. And so I've already really liked the burn engine. I really liked it when Mag Mortar came out. I really wanted to try it, but I didn't feel like it worked well enough. With Mega Camerupt, I genuinely think it can work. I think the burn engine can work, since you now have a really solid attacker and Beefcake to sit behind and just let burn tick and do damage over time. And so that is what Mega Camerupt lets you do. You just sit there, you deal heavy amounts of damage, all on one energy. I still can't stress enough. You get to deal at base 260 damage off of one energy. That is so insane. That's literally double the energy output. Or that's double the damage output of Mecha Lucario. And I was already freaking out over that. I cannot believe this card isn't being talked about more. It is kind of insane. And I know a lot of people are talking about playing it with Volcanion. I don't like that idea that much. I think Camerupt doesn't work well with Volcanion just because that's a lot of switching you have to do. You're basically having to switch every turn. I feel like Volcarona is the better option just because you can have Volcarona sit on the bench and burn. That's my personal opinion though. Obviously, we'll have to see once it comes out, but I think Volcarona is the better partner than Volcanion. Of course, all this being said though, it's still... Actually, that's the thing, now I'm just now thinking about it. It kind of isn't too scared about Goldango, just because even without burning, it still deals a lot of damage. But, no, not really. Never mind, actually, you still aren't one-shotting, though. So, I think Camerupt is really good. You need a lot of pieces, though, because that's a lot of stage 1s you need. So I'm thinking maybe run it with, like, Hyper Aroma or something, but still, that's a lot you're needing. You need a lot for this combo to work. But if you have all that, I think it could generally put out humongous numbers. So I think it's generally one of the sleeper picks of it. So I'm going to put it into B tier. I think maybe... It's kind of hard to say. I think I want to put it above Venusaur. Actually, wait, let me check something out. Mega Camerupt. It is weak to water. Okay, that's kind of another really good thing. Water types aren't really played in the meta. There's not a lot of water types. Of course, there's going to be more support for water types, but still, there's no water types in the meta right now. Water is not a thing you have to worry about. And so that's immediately one of the biggest weaknesses most other decks have gone. You don't really have to worry about weakness. So there's no real counter deck on that alone. Another thing I could see is things like Miss Energy. As I'm pretty sure it blocks burn, does it not? Actually, I don't know, don't quote me on that. Actually, I might be wrong on that. But yeah, I think this is a really solid deck. Really high damage. When, like we've seen with Mega Lucario, stage 1s are really easy to set up. Think about Goldango. Goldango is easy to set up. Stage 1s are easy to set up. You can just play them. Yeah, they're easy to set up, and so I think you can play this deck very fast. That's one of the big things. It's a pretty fast deck. And so, yeah, I'm going to give it a tentative B. I don't really think it's going to be good. I don't really think it gains anything post-rotation. I don't think anything really... I don't think it loses any key matchups or key counters. I don't think it loses any of that. Or gains anything. I think it's pretty okay rotation-wise. Next up is... I'm going to be honest... I don't like Mega Absol. I think it's trash. I'm going to be honest, I think it's trash. I do not think this is a good card at all. Either on its own or in a partner or as a tech in another deck. I don't think it's good at all. Because, yeah, it's nice to be able to just instant knock out your opponent, but you need 2 energy for that, and they have to have exactly 6 damage counters on them. Admittedly, that's not that hard. Putting 6 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon is not that hard, especially in decks like Grimmsnarl. God, I am blanking so hard. It is currently like 11:25 p.m. I probably shouldn't be recording right now, but whatever. But yeah, In Grimmsnarl, it's not that hard to get 6 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon, and so it can be really nice to get that knockout. But the thing is Grimmsnarl already works insanely well on its own. It doesn't really need more support. And of all the support it could use, another attacker is not what it needs. Especially since it's not a 1 energy attack, it's a 2 energy attack. And so you're going to have to do some shenanigans, like attaching for turn and energy switch, or attaching 2 turns in a row, or Janine's Secret Art. I've even seen some people talk about that. It seems clunky to me. It seems like a clunky card that doesn't really give much benefit. Just because, being able to insta-KO a card is really nice. We've seen this with other cards like Roaring Moon EX. But even then, that was on a 2-prizer. So you could trade equally and then get a big KO final turn. This is a triple prizer. You can't really trade equally that easily. Especially since the meta right now revolves heavily around basic EXs. Or not basic EXs, but just EXs, 2-prizers. And so you're always having to trade down. And that's kind of an issue with a lot of the Mega Pokemon and all these triple prizers is you're having to trade down. And so you have to get a lot of value out of them. And so that's why I feel like Mega Absol's just... It's right there. It's at the cusp of being good, but in my opinion, it's just not good enough and kind of trash. Just because, yeah, you can insta-KO, but you need those 2 energy, and we don't really have good dark energy acceleration, and you need those 6 damage counters. And so for that, you either have to do a lot of shenanigans with the new stadium and the new punk helmet. You have to do a lot of shenanigans with those, or just play it in Grimmsnarl, where Grimmsnarl's already really good in its own. And another big thing, it only has 280 HP. 280 HP is the worst threshold to be in. So many decks can hit 280 HP easy. So many can. And so 280 HP is an awful threshold to be in. So this thing is going to be KO'd easily, giving up 3 prizes, and it's not going to be giving you a whole lot, in my opinion. So I think this card is kind of overrated. I know a lot of people freaked out when they first saw it and were so excited for it, but I think it's very overrated. Just because, like I said before, it asks for a lot. It's a card that's asking for a lot and not giving a whole lot in return. And so, I'm going to give Mega Absol a very sad D tier, bottom of D tier. I don't think it's going to be that good. I don't think it's going to see a lot of play, and I think it's probably the worst Mega we've got here, which is saying a lot, because I have some strong opinions about these 3. But next up is Mega Abomasnow. I actually quite like a Mega Abomasnow. I know a lot of people think it's going to be the worst one. I think it's actually not that bad. I think it's underrated. So, first off, we got 3D HP, which is pretty good, even better than Lucario, which I was glazing earlier. And then Avalanche Hammer for 2 energy. 100 damage, discard the top 6 cards of your deck. This attack does 100 damage for each basic water energy you discard this way. This is a really funny attack. This is a really, really funny attack. Just because, like, you can hit insane amounts of damage all on a gamble. So it's a really funny card. I like it a lot. Alright, here, let's structure that. Okay, first off, I'm just going to talk. This card is probably the best card to fight other Megas. Because that's one thing, like I said earlier with the Mega Absol, one of the biggest issues with Megas is you're usually having to trade down. You're never really able to trade equally. And even then, if you do face another Mega, a lot of the Mega evolutions aren't that good against each other. They don't really hit the damage threshold to hit each other well enough. Mega Abomasnow, on the other hand, actually kind of does. It can easily hit the threshold of knocking out other Megas. And so it's kind of the only Mega that's actually good against other Megas. And so just that alone, I think, kind of makes it pretty decent if the meta starts to revolve around other Megas, since it hits hard enough to take out other Megas. Another thing is I see a lot of people building potential decks for this with running like 30 energy. I disagree. I don't think that's a good idea. I think the better way to do it is to use the new Gumshoes, which is, in my opinion, really good, actually. since it lets you swap. You can switch the card from your hand with the top card of your deck on an ability. And so you can load the top of your deck with a water energy. You can then use things like Academy at Night and Cypher Maniac to load it up even more. Get at least like 4 energy on there. Then boom, you're already hitting for 400 damage. That's pretty good. Like, that's really good damage. That's knocking out everything, even megas. That is really good damage. It does require a lot though. Like I said with the others, that's a lot of setup for just one attack. And the worst thing is you have to mill yourself. So even if you get, so those other 2 cards are going to be gone, or into the graveyard at least, which really sucks. Because let's say that was something important you needed. Let's say that was the next Abomasnow you needed. Let's say that was a Nest Ball you needed. That sucks. But I think it's a worthy trade-off, as you get to do a lot of damage while on a very tanky Pokemon. But there's still another issue with the card. It requires 2 energy to do the attack. That alone slows it down a lot. Just because now you have to do some funky shenanigans with things like Turbo Energize or attaching 2 turns in a row. It makes it a bit more clunky. But that's the first attack out of the way. I said a lot about the first attack. Let's talk about the second attack. Frost Barrier for 200 damage for 3 water energy. During your opponent's next turn, this Pokemon takes 30 less damage from attacks. So essentially, you can turn that 380 HP into, or 350 HP into 380. This isn't bad. I'll admit, this is not bad. But I don't think that's going to be the main reason you play Abomasnow. I think it's going to be Avalanche Hammer is the main reason you're playing Abomasnow, as you can hit really good damage semi-easily. There's still a lot of chance in it. That's where I feel like the big thing with the deck is it's a lot of chance. You could get a bunch of energy off the top of your deck and do a bunch of damage. Or you could just get like 1 energy, do a pitiful 100 damage, and then mill 5 cards from your deck. So it's such a chance-based attack. It's basically Electric Generator as an attack, funnily enough. And as a Miraidon player, I can tell you, Electric Generator is something you cannot rely on. It's fun, it's nice when it happens, but you can't rely on it. And this deck kind of relies on it. It relies on that chance. And although, yeah, you can do a lot of things to boost that chance, it's still a chance. It's still a chance-based thing. And so in those key moments where I need to take this one last knockout and I can win the game, and then you whiff and just get 1 energy. Kind of stinks. But there is another couple cards that do really good with it. Since you're having to mill a bunch of water energy from yourself, you can play with Kyogre, which Riptide, it has 150 HP, and Riptide, this attack does 20 damage for each basic water energy in your discard pile, and then you shuffle those energy back into your deck. This is fun, because then you can mill a bunch of water energy from your deck, play Kyogre, do a big hit with Kyogre, and then bring all that energy right back to the deck. So you can then keep attacking with Abomasnow. And the big thing is like, oh, well, how'd you get it into the active if you already have Abomasnow on the active? Easy. There's the new stadium, which I'm kind of forgetting the name of. What is that? Beach? Yeah, Surfing Beach. You have Surfing Beach, which is basically a Petulant, but for water Pokemon and without the poison. Kind of insane, not gonna lie. Kind of an insane stadium. And so you can easily just use Abomasnow, mill a bunch of cards from your deck, then switch into Kyogre, and then hit for really hard and recycle all those water energy. And since it's a single prizer, you're going to be upsetting that prize trade a lot. That's another thing I forgot to mention with Lucario. Since you're able to use these single prizers in conjunction with your big attacker, you can upset the prize trade a lot in your favor. And to just make that thing way easier, as instead of your opponent having to go through 2 Pokemon, they're going to have to go through 3 Pokemon. That alone just makes it, or not even 3, sometimes you can even make it 4. And so it can just make things really easy for you. It can make things better for you. And so with this whole package, with the milling of water energy and Kyogre, as well as a lot of damage, I'm gonna put a tentative C tier, as it has a lot of potential, and it's probably the best mega to combat other megas. But it's so much gambling. You're having to rely so much on luck to do good damage. that I don't think it's good enough. Now, next up is another one of my personal favorites, Mega Manectric. Where is it? Where are you? This is another card I really, really like. So much so that I kinda already made a proxy deck for it as well. Now, obviously, first things first, it slots well in the Miraidon. Actually, first things first, let's just talk about the card itself. So, 330 HP, which is not bad. First attack for 2 lightning energy is Flash Ray, 120 damage. During your opponent's next turn, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from basic Pokemon. This is a funny attack. This is a really, really funny attack because it just completely walls out Raging Bolt. Raging Bolt can't do anything once you do this. So this is a really funny attack in its own right, just because it completely walls Raging Bolt. But that's, of course, not the main draw of the card. The main draw is Riot Blaster, which for 200 damage, which deals 200 damage, but you can also discard all energy attached to the Pokemon to do 330 damage, which is knocking out most EX cards in format, besides a couple others, and most Megas. You're not really KOing Megas with this card, but you're KOing almost every EX card. And so, what this card does is, it gives Miraidon the big beat stick attacker it needs. It gives it that option to be able to say, hey, I see I have a big guy up in front, I can't boss around it or use Iron Hands against it, I'm just hit you for 330 and move on with my day. And the thing is 3 lightning energy is not that hard. That's actually really easy to do, especially with the new electric, as you can just if you have 2 of them on your bench, Dynamo or 2 energy to it, attach the 3rd for a turn, and then boom, it's fully loaded up in 1 turn. So the energy is not a big deal at all, and it does an insane amount of damage, but there's a big but here. It's a 3 prize with only 330 HP. And so, here comes the biggest issue with it, it's kind of easy to knock out. It's kind of really easy to knock out, especially for other Mega decks. And so, it's this almost suicide bomber. You're dealing a lot of damage, but you're gonna lose a lot in return. It's one of those cards I really like, but it's at just the cusp of being an amazing card. It's good, it's a really good card, but I wouldn't say it's amazing. I wouldn't say it's meta-defining, but it's really close. Just because it has slightly too little HP and slightly too little damage. Because this is the lowest HP Stage 1 Mega Pokemon we have. Closest next to it is Lucario, which just has 10 more HP. But that 10 more HP makes all the difference in the world, as Mega Manectric can't knock it out. And so you kind of run into the situation of you're pretty good into almost every EX deck, but Mega decks you struggle hard against, as you really have kind of no answer, as they can easily take you out. Especially since I said Mega Lucario is probably going to be really popular, and so I'd say, especially since Mega Manectric is weak to Mega Lucario. So Mega Lucario can easily take it out with a single Mega Brave without any Premium Power Pro. Heck, it can even take it out with Aura Jab if they use Premium Power Pro. And so, I think it's really dependent on the meta. If Lucario is popular, Manectric won't be good. If Lucario is low, Manectric will be popular. But it has these issues of it doesn't deal enough damage and it doesn't have enough health. It's got good numbers. It's got really good numbers, but they're just so close to greatness. They're so close to greatness. And so for that, I want to give it a high B tier. I'm actually going to bump Mega Lucario up. I'm actually going to put it lower than Mega Camerupt. I'm going to put it lower than Camerupt. Just because you put all this effort into it, and although it can give you amazing results against other Megas, it just doesn't. It doesn't do enough against other Megas. It struggles into other Megas. Alright, next up is Mega Guardy. And I know my opinion's probably going to be kind of controversial with Mega Gardevoir. Because, like with Absol, I don't think this is a good card at all. I just don't think it's a good card at all. I think... So first of all, let's just go over the stats. 360 HP on a stage 2 Pokemon is just kind of not that good on a Mega. But we'll talk about that later. First attack, Overflowing Wishes. For each of your bench Pokemon, search your deck for a basic Psychic Energy and attach to that Pokemon, then shuffle your deck. Pretty good attack, not gonna lie, pretty good attack. Second attack, Mega Symphonia, also for a single Psychic Energy, does 50 damage for each Psychic Energy attached to all your Pokemon. This is a fun card, I'll say, but I don't think it's that good. It's asking for a lot. You need a lot of energy in play to just start dealing good damage. Just to hit 300 damage, you're going to have 6 energy in play, which is kinda difficult to do if you don't have good energy acceleration, and Gardevoir doesn't really have that. The most you have is things like Wonder Patch, which let me see if I can find it. Okay, maybe not. But yeah, obviously you could probably tell what Wonder Patch is. It's a patch, but for psychic types. We've seen things like this before. It's nothing that different. But then we also have the new Grumpig. Nope, not that Grumpig. This one. Energy Step. You may use this ability when you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon. Look at the top 4 cards of your deck and attach any number of basic energy cards you find there to your Pokemon in any way you like. This, I feel like, is going to be the main partner with Mega Gardevoir in a Gardevoir deck, as it's definitely the best way to get energy onto the board. But of course, it's pretty much a neutered electric generator. It's kinda not that good. Because it's only the top 4 cards, immediately it is any card you find there, which is not bad. But still, you're only looking at the top 4 cards, which can just be a bit of a struggle. So most likely you're going to have to play like 15, 20 energy in your deck. And you're still going to be chance-based. It's still going to be all up to chance. Which, as we've said, with things like Mega Abomasnow, I kind of don't like these chance things. I don't like these inconsistencies. Because now it's not, oh, I get to play my deck to its fullest potential. It's, I have to bargain with my deck so that I can hopefully go to its best potential. And even then, even if you do attach a bunch of energy, Mega Symphonia is just not that good of an attack. 50 damage for each energy is not that good. We've seen cards like Goldango that do 50 damage for each energy from your hand you discard. That is insanely good, because getting energy in your hand is really easy. That's the easy part. Getting energy into play, that's the hard part. Because getting energy into play requires so much extra fuss. You have to do so much extra stuff. And we've seen a card that's very similar to Gardevoir already in Hydrapple EX that does more damage for each grass energy attached to your Pokemon. And even then, that deck is not that good. Even with something as strong as Teomask Ogerpon being able to give you a bunch of free energy attachments per turn, the deck is still not that good. And this deck doesn't even have that on top of a 3-prize Pokemon. So I think with all these factors combined, I think it's just going to be a bit too slow to get all those energies attached to start dealing big damage. Of course, that is all being said on its own. But we're kind of forgetting the big elephant in the room. The number 1 card in format, Gardevoir EX. Which is since you're already running all the Curlios and Ralts, it's really easy to pair Gardevoir and Mega Gardevoir together. It's really easy to do that. It slots right in, just 1 extra card, whatever. And Gardevoir EX gives you infinite attachment from discard to your Pokemon. You get infinite attachment. So instantly, that removes the biggest issue with Mega Gardevoir, is getting enough energy on board. Even then, though, I still don't think it's that good. Because most Guardy decks really only run like 8-ish energy, which can let you deal about 400 damage, which is nice, if you have every energy in your deck on the field. If you don't, you're gonna struggle. And even then, that's still a 3-prize Pokemon that you're having to put out that can easily be KO'd when that's kind of one of the big strengths of Guardy is it's able to use single prize Pokemon really effectively to upset the prize trade. So I feel like Mega Gardevoir in that aspect kind of goes against it. I feel like it kind of goes against the main idea of Gardevoir EX in that you don't really get to upset the prize trade that much. And I don't think it's offering enough to the deck, as you're not dealing a whole lot of damage with it. You have to use so much effort. You have to get so much energy into play for it to start hitting big numbers. And it's still a 3 prize not liability, and it has only 360 HP, which is it's low for a Mega. It's low. Like we've seen with Mega Venusaur, which has 380 HP, that's low for a Stage 2 Mega. So I feel like it's going to be kind of easy to knock out for a lot of decks that are already kind of gearing themselves for Megas. So I think with all those factors combined, on its own, I think it's a D tier deck. On its own, it's a D tier deck. But with the power of Gardevoir backing it up, I think it could be a solid C tier deck. I'll put it above Obama Snow, just because it can still be a really good attacker in Gardevoir. I just think it's going to be a niche attacker in Gardevoir. I think it's going to be one of those things where some Gardevoir lists run it, some don't. Or some people value that high amount of damage but high cost, while others don't. That's why I feel like its position is right now. Next up, we have Mega Latias, which I am quite upset with, because I like this card. I like it a lot. I like the idea of it. It's just not good. So first off, 280 HP, and for 1 colorless energy, 40 damage, strafe, you may switch this Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. Alright, it's a decent hit and run attack. We've seen hit and run attackers not really do much in the meta, so it's okay. It's okay. But then Mirage Impulse for a fire, psychic, and colorless energy deals 300 damage, and you have to discard all energy from this Pokemon. This is just. If this was a just regular EX, this would probably still not see much play. Yeah, even if this was a regular EX, this would probably not see much play. But since it is a Mega, this is just so bad. Because, first of all, how in the world are you going to power this thing up? Fire and Psychic have no energy acceleration. They have no basic energy acceleration. So, you're going to most likely have to be building that up manually, which is not great on a 280 HP 3-prizer. A lot of people are going to see you trying to build it up on the bench and see a free 3-prize, since it's such low HP. And since it's a basic, you want to play aggressively with it, but due to the energy cost, you can't play aggressively with it. There is, of course, I would be remiss to not mention the Latios that is coming. No. Latios. There is a new Latios card, which has an ability, Lost or Assist. Once during your turn, when your Mega Latios EX moves from the bench to the active spot, you may move any amount of energy attached to your bench Pokemon to your active Pokemon. This is decent. This is okay. This makes it to where you don't have to build it up manually. You can build up other things, and then let's say, oh, I need 300 damage. All right, let me slam down let me slam down Mega Latios, bring it to the active, and it's set up. That still requires you to set up all 3 energy. That's still 3 energy you have to set up manually. That's not fun. That's not good. That's still 3 energy. And not even like all 1 energy. That is a psychic and fire energy you need to build up. Of course, with those exact energy requirements, people are starting to think about adding it to Dragapult, since with Dragapult you already run Psychic and Fire, as well as things like Luminous. And so people are talking about using it as a late game attacker. You slam it down and Latios, bring it to the active. Usually you'll have all the energy you need already in play, so you could just absorb all of it into Mega Latios EX, and then hit for a solid 300. I'm not against this idea, but like Blood Moon's just kind of better for this role because it's not a three prizer. You don't have to have all this energy in play to set it up, and it honestly almost has, it doesn't have that much less health either. And you don't need to have 2 bench slots free. That's another big thing. To set this all up, you need to, first of all, have all the energy in the board. You need to have a Latios EX on the board, and a Latios on the board. All that just to set it up for a measly 300 damage. Of course, that being said, we've seen 300 damage be good. This is a good amount of damage, but it's not enough for a Mega Evolution Pokemon. For a Mega Evolution Pokemon that can be KO'd this easily, it needs to deal more damage, and we aren't seeing that. Of course, you can do things like add Bravery Charm to make it a 320 HP basic Pokemon, but that's still not enough. That's still not enough. That's easy to take out a lot of decks. 320 is a very bad damage threshold to be in, since a lot of decks are used to doing that with things like Dragapult and Grimmsnarl in format. Decks are used to seeing 320 HP and know how to deal with it. So 320 HP is not enough. 300 damage is not enough. It's hard to set up. This is why I don't think Latias is good. I am still going to put it above Absol. Actually, no, I'm going to put it below Absol. I generally think it's the worst Mega Evolution. Just because it's so hard to set up for so little in return, and you can lose so much from it. At least Absol can be a decent, or not even decent, a niche tech into Grimmsnarl. I genuinely don't see a world where Latias EX, Mega Latias EX is playable. I don't see that world. Alright, and now I'm realizing I don't got... I'm realizing I do not have the U. The stone throne was hollow. There we are. Let's just move that over there. Alright, next up we have Mega Kangaskhan. Mega Kangaskhan is an interesting card, and I see a lot of people already starting to freak out about it because it's a big 300 HP triple prizer. This is something we've been kind of worried about with Megas coming back, or with 3 prizers coming back, is these big beat stick basic Pokemon with just big walls of HP and big damage. Kangaskhan, though, is not that. Yes, it has a lot of HP, but that's kind of it. It's kind of a one-trick pony in my opinion. Or not one-trick pony, but it's kind of limited in a way. Well, let's get into the rest of it before we discuss. So yeah, so 300 HP, like I said. Ability Air and Dash. You may use this ability once during a turn. If this Pokemon is in your active spot, draw 2 cards. You can only use 1 Air and Dash ability per turn. I'll talk about this ability in a bit, because I have some choice words. And then for 3 colorless energy, Barrage Combo, 200 damage, flip a coin until you get tails. This attack does 50 more damage for each heads. Now that we've talked about the stats, I really want to lay into this card. I hate this card. I hate it so much. I think this is a trash card. I don't understand why people are losing their minds over it so much. I hate it. Okay, first of all, Air and Dash. Yeah, it's nice to get to draw 2 cards, but only if it's in the active. And only once per turn. That alone makes it so annoying, because it's like, we have cards like Goldango, which lets you draw a bunch of cards. You're not limited to 1 coin bonus per turn, and it doesn't have to be in the active. So you get to draw so much cards with Goldango, but not with Kangaskhan EX. Instead, it has to be in the active, and you can only use 1 Air and Dash ability per turn. This just makes it so annoying. Even if it was just, it has to be in the active, but you get to draw 2 cards, that alone would make it so much better. But the fact that it's only once per turn, so it's like, okay, you get a free 2 cards. Okay, that's kind of nothing. I don't think that's enough to warrant it being a good card. But then there's also the attack. Once again, we're gambling. I don't like gambling. I like consistent cards. I don't like this attack. You get to deal 200 damage, which is not bad. But then you get to gamble and potentially deal more damage. Or you just potentially not deal at all anything. All for 3 energy. If it was just 2 energy, then that'd be really good. But the fact that it's 3 makes it so difficult to build up. Because that's just so insane. First of all, it's not an evolution Pokemon. Can't use ignition energy on it. It is colorless though, so you can use things like Crispin to attach it, but you're still having to get that 3rd energy onto there. You can use things like Glass Trumpet and Terapagos to attach energy on an item. But that has to be when it's on the bench. You can't do that when it's in the active. So it's just this 3 damage, or this 3 energy cost, it makes it so difficult to use. And you're not getting a lot for it either. You're getting 200 damage with a chance of doing more. This is just not enough in my opinion. It's not that good. There are some fun things you can do with it, running it with Boufflant and Bravery Charm to give it 400 HP, something like that. That's fun. But I don't think that's enough. I don't think that's nearly enough. Because you're having to attach a lot of energy, so it can do mediocre damage. You have a mediocre draw with it. I don't think it's enough. And then another big issue with it has fighting weakness. Right now that's not a big issue, but once the new fighting support comes out, things like Garchomp EX and Mega Lucario are probably going to be pretty played. And so that makes it way more difficult to play Mega Kangaskhan. So it's just, with all these factors, I don't think it's good in its own deck. But I've seen some people play around with it in, what was it? I think it was Roaring Moon? Now that, I'm not against actually. As that's one of the biggest issues with Roaring Moon is it has no draw. You struggle to get the cards you need. You need a lot of cards to make these big combos, to make these big plays. And that's another good thing with Roaring Moon is you think you're gonna have things like Petrarunt. And so running with Petrarunt and Latios, you can easily swap something into Mega Kangaskhan, use its draw ability, swap back into that other thing with Petrarunt. You can easily do this little dance to draw those 2 extra cards, which can be so vital for getting the extra things you need to pull off big combos, and due to the fact that it has a high HP count, it's going to be kind of hard to take out on its own, and so it's kind of safe in that option, in that way. And so for that alone, I think it's going to see some play, but I don't see it ever being used as its own deck. I don't think it's good enough for its own deck. I think it could be used in certain niche ways, like with Roaring Moon, but I don't think it's going to be that good, as Roaring Moon is not that good of a deck in its own right. So, I like it, I like what it's doing, but I don't think it's nearly enough. And so for that, we're going to put it in low C tier. We're going to put it behind Abomasnow. Alright, next up is Mega Mawile. This is interesting, okay, first of all, let's just get into the stats. 270 HP, basic, metal Pokemon. For 2 Steel Energy, Gobble Up, you can do 80 damage for each prize card you've taken. And then for 2 Steel and 1 Colorless Energy, Big Bite 260, your opponent's active Pokemon, if your opponent's active Pokemon has 8 damage counters on it, this attack does 30 instead. This is an interesting card. In its own deck, trash. In things like Archaladon, a godsend. this is one of the best buffs our Chaladon could have gotten, as this lets you play Omega aggressive with our Chaladon, and then it lets you close games really easy with our Chaladon. Because that's kind of one of the biggest issues with our Chaladon is it doesn't deal a lot of damage. You kind of struggle to close out games. But with Mega Mawile, you can easily be hitting 320 damage once you have taken 4 prizes. So you can easily start dealing high amounts of damage. And that 2 steel energy requirement on it, just use our Chaladon's assembling alloy ability. Boom, it's done. It's covered. You're good on that. So, I think Mega Mawile EX is actually going to be the boost our Chaladon needs to become meta once again. Because right now, our Chaladon is a really fun rogue deck, but it's kind of not that good. It's fallen off really hard in the recent post-rotation. It's fallen off really hard. But I think Mega Mawile might be what the deck needs to come back. And so, for that, I think I really like this card. It's got low HP. I don't like that. It's low HP, but you get to do a lot of damage for little commitment. And usually you're using it to close out games where the HP doesn't matter. And so I think for that alone, I'm going to put it in high B tier. Maybe even, actually, yeah, you know what? Yeah, low A tier. Just because I think it's generally one of the strongest megas, just because for our Chaladon, it can just make you win games, just straight up win games on its own. It can deal a lot of damage, it's easy to set up. It sucks in its own deck, though. It is horrendous in its own deck. Its own deck is unusable. But in other decks like our Chaladon, I'm trying to think what other steel decks would want to run it. I can't really think of any yet, because like there's Goldango, but Dango would not want to run this. It doesn't have the energy acceleration for that. And Goldango is really good at finishing out games. But, so I think for that alone, I might put it into high B tier. Yeah, I think high B tier fits. It's right at the cusp of being A tier, but I think high B tier fits. It's really good, though. I really like it. I like this card a lot. Alright. Next up is Mega Diancie, which is one of the newest megas revealed. If I could spell, Jesus. Yeah, it's about like midnight, so I'm kind of tired right now. I should not be here. Oh, do they not have... Alright, we're gonna have to go on Pokemon. Actually, no. They should. Where's Meganium? Or not. It's not Meganium. What is it? It's, God, I am losing my mind. What is it? What is it? It's Mega... No, they don't have it on here. Alright, Piss. Here, let's just go into Poke Beach, because that's where I got it. Mega Diancie, that's what's not Mega Meganium, Jesus. Mega Diancie. Alright, here's Mega Diancie. 270 HP on a basic Psychic Pokemon. Ability Diamond Coat. This Pokemon takes 30 less damage from attacks. And then with its attack Garland Ray for double Psychic Energy, deals 120 damage time... Oh, no. Discard up to 2 energy from this Pokemon. This attack does 12 damage. 112... Oh my god. 120 damage for each energy discarded this way. I don't like this. I don't like it at all. I don't like it. I'm gonna be honest. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I think this is kind of trash. I know a lot of people are really excited for it. I think it's kind of trash. 240 damage on a 3 prizer is so bad. It's so bad. And for 2 psychic energy, so you have to build this thing up. You can use things like Wonder Patch to build it up, sure, but like that's so annoying to have to do. That's so fidgety for so little reward. We have cards that can do what this card does so much better. We have things like Raging Bolt that just does what Diancie does but better. So I don't even want to spend a lot of time talking about this. I think this is a trash card. I think this is going to be one of those cards that just no one uses. It can be fun for some donk decks, because that's the thing. You can build up really fast. It's a really fast build up. You can definitely have this ready in turn 1 or 2, easily. And hitting for 240 damage in turn 1 or 2 is really good. But once you get past that, it falls off so hard. Early game, it's insane. But like starting mid game, it sucks. It sucks so bad. It just loses so much potential. And like, yeah, its ability Diamond Co is kind of nice, gives it like theoretically 300 damage or 300 HP, but like, that's not doing enough. You're still running around with a 270 HP, 300 HP basic Pokemon that gives 3 prizes. That's only dealing 240 damage. So I'm not even going to spend a lot of time. It sucks in its own deck. The only deck I could see it potentially being played is Gardevoir, and Gardevoir just has better options already. I'm going to put it above Mega Latias EX, because it's at least playable. I can see a world where it's at least a rogue deck. It's playable. But I don't think it's going to be good. I don't think it's going to be played at all. I think it's kind of a trash card. Alright, up next, from the same article, from PokeBeach.com, gotta get that little sponsor in, even though I'm not sponsored, rip, is Mega Gengar EX. And I like this card. I like this card a lot. So Mega Gengar EX, 350 HP on a stage 2 dark type, with the ability Shadow Hiding. Whenever one of your dark Pokemon is knocked out by damage from an attack from your opponent's Pokemon EX, your opponent takes 1 less prize card. This effect doesn't stack. This is really fun. This is fun. And then for the attack is 2 Dark Energy, Void Gale, 230 damage, movement energy from this Pokemon to one of your bench Pokemon. We've seen attacks like this in things like Iron Thorns, and this is a fun attack. I like it. I like it a lot. Especially when you pair it up with the ability. The ability is kind of insane. Because what this basically means is you have a 350 HP stage. You have a 350 HP 2-prizer. That alone is really nuts. But it doesn't just end there. Because it works with any dark type, you can then do some funny things, like pairing it up with Baby Roaring Moon, so that you can deal really good damage and give up 0 prizes. This is where the deck kind of goes insane, is you can play Mega Gengar with any single prize Pokemon, and they just don't count. They just don't give up a prize. This is where it kind of gets insane, because you can run all of these otherwise trash Pokemon and just get free damage. Like from the same set, or not from the same set, from the same battle deck, we have Sableye, which does 20 damage for 1 Dark Energy, and if you have a stage 2 Dark Pokemon in play, this attack does 70 more damage. Normally, this would be trash. This would be such a bad card. But thanks to Mega Gengar, this is pretty much a free 90 damage and you don't give up a prize. You can do 90 damage and not give up a prize, all for 1 energy attachment. And then you can do some other funny things, like Blind Pecharunt, so you can start moving things around, start poisoning your own Pokemon, like your Mega Gengar, so you can then use Binding Mochi and start hitting for more damage. So you can start hitting for like 270 damage on Mega Gengar. Or you can start hitting more damage on things like Baby Roaring Moon, or even on this little Sableye. You can start hitting for 130 damage for free. Pair this up with the new Digging Shovel that's coming out. Let me see if I can find it. Is that what's called? Hole Digging Shovel, yeah. We got this new Hole Digging Shovel, which lets you discard the 2 top cards of your deck. This is amazing for Roaring Moon, as it lets you discard ancient cards. And so, once you have all this in theory, once you get a Mega Gengar EX set up, it is going to be so difficult for your opponent to take any prizes. And so it doesn't matter how little damage you're doing, your opponent's going to struggle to be taking prizes. Because of the fact, everything just gives your opponent 1 less prize. Everything basically gets a legacy energy attached to it. That's kind of insane. Everything gets a free legacy energy attached to it. And legacy energy is an A spec for a reason. And so I may be overreacting. I could 100% be overreacting. This card could become hot doo-doo. But due to how insane this effect is, I think it's actually got a chance to be a top tier deck. Just because of the fact that you get to play these single prizers with effectively no risk. It doesn't matter how little damage they do, they don't give up prizes. And with things like Baby Roaring Moon, you still deal a decent amount of damage with it. You can still deal good damage. You can still deal really good damage with it. And so, with that, I think I'm going to give it a very tentative A tier. Because there is some wild potential with this card. This card has serious potential. But I'm still kind of iffy on saying it's going to be a top tier card. I'm still iffy on putting it in S tier as we haven't seen an effect like this before, or at least not in a way like this, and so it's kind of hard to gauge of, okay, how good will this actually be? On paper, this sounds amazing. You just don't get to give up prizes, but in theory, there's some issues with it, or in practice, there could be some issues with it. So I'm still kind of iffy on giving it the S tier, but for now I'm going to give it a tentative low A tier, as it has potential. It has a lot of serious potential. Out of all these megas, I think it's the one with the most potential. And so with that out of the way, we got Mega Latias EX, Mega Diancie EX, and Mega Absol EX in D tier. I don't think any of these cards are going to really see any play. I think they're kind of trash. And now up in C tier, we have Mega Kangaskhan EX, Mega Abomasnow EX, and then Mega Gardevoir EX. I think these guys are going to be niche. I think there's going to be some fun rogue decks with them, but I don't think they're going to have an overall large impact on the meta. Next we have Mega Venusaur, Mega Manectric, Mega Camerupt, and Mega Mawile all in B tier. I think these are all cards that have a really good chance of being meta-defining, or helping other decks become meta-defining. Meta-defining, with Mawile helping out Archaludon immensely, and then Camerupt and Mega Manectric being really good in their own right, with Mega Manectric also helping Miraidon a lot. And then Mega Venusaur, I definitely think I think it's going to be a rogue deck, but I think it's going to be a rogue deck with the most potential, as it has a lot of fun tools. It's just got some really poor matchups, and I can imagine it being kind of clunky or hard to do since it asks for a lot. And then up in A tier, we have Mega Gardevoir. Oh my goodness, it's late for me. But yeah, we have Mega Gengar EX and Mega Lucario EX. I think these cards have potential to be meta-defining, or at least have a very high ranking in the meta. I think both these cards have a really good chance of just being really good, as I personally tested around with Lucario and I've seen the power of it. It is scary good. That being said though, this could completely change. For all I know, when the set comes out, all these cards can be hot doo-doo, nobody ever plays them. They are just hot trash, for all I know. Or they could become the best thing ever. It could be like the tag team situation all over again, where these big three prizers just take over the meta and nothing else can compete. Who knows? I personally don't think that's going to happen. I honestly think a lot of these megas are kind of underpowered. I think Nintendo has, for once, actually done a really good job at balancing them. As, like I said, I feel like a lot of them are very underpowered, or just at the cusp of being really powerful. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. This is something I want to do again, so most likely whenever a new mega gets announced, or some new cards gets announced, I'm probably going to update the tier list and probably do a video on that. But for now, this is my ranking on all the megas. I would love to hear your comments down below, as obviously everyone has different opinions. Obviously, and I am by no means a pro at this game. I play this game a lot, I play competitive a lot. I am not good at this game. So I could be overlooking something, or overshadowing something, or looking into something too much and thinking it's too good. But yeah, I would love to hear you guys' opinions in the comments down below. But with that out of the way, thank you so much for watching. I really enjoyed making this video, so like I said, when new megas drop, I'm going to be adding them to the tier list. But with that out of the way, I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.